Hey, everybody. Good morning. It's Sunday, March 22nd, 2026. My name is Terry Hunter. I'm here almost every Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. It's where we look at the transits of the upcoming week and we do a, um, a reading for each sign. And we start with the birthday month. And today, being March 22nd, we're going back to the beginning of the Zodiac with the Aries energy. I'm going to give the room a minute for some people to mosey on in. I'd like to announce that Small Wildflowers will not be able to be here today. She's not feeling really up to it. So if you guys could say prayers that her body comes back into balance and she starts to feel vital again, that would be really helpful. All right, I'm just going to start going over the transits. I want to wish all my early born Aries a happy birthday. I also want to say that during this solar return, you're experiencing Neptune and Saturn pretty much conjunct your sun. This would be an opportunity to reframe, to transcend Neptune's energy from an energy of duty and obligation or drudgery, or I don't know, I almost want to feel like I'm in the washing machine, I'm going around in circles. This energy is offering you an opportunity to move into a new dynamic, a dynamic of having an adventure of rediscovering or recalibrating yourself. Good morning, CC Pups. Welcome. Good morning at J Love. That's good to see you. Small Wildflowers will not be with us today. She's just not feeling well, and she's going to go back to bed and rest. So let's talk about this because Saturn and Neptune have been dancing around. Good morning, Catherine. It's great to see you. Have been dancing around together for quite some time, and they're finally starting to separate. Oh, wow. Okay, that's so interesting, CC Pups. I still want to do my, I started a series on the babies born in 2024. I still have to do 25 and 26. I've just gotten caught up in other things, but it's going to be an exciting series once it's completed. Okay, because I want to offer this. What CC Pups is saying is, that's what I was going to talk about today, is the personal planets are clustered in Pisces and in Aries. And we just walked out of a Mercury retrograde. So Mercury is starting to go direct. And this is really, rethinking, revisiting, how do I spend my daily, what is my daily routine? We think about Mercury just being communications, but it's literally your daily habits. It's what you do when you wake up in the morning. It's how you drive to work. It's, where you run your errands. So as Mercury was retrograding in Pisces, it was really about revisiting what the North Node is asking for. Where am I stretching to live my dream life? Because they were hovering around each other. So now Mercury is stationed direct, still conjunct the North Node. And at the same time, we have the Sun and Neptune conjunct. So if your birthday again is around this time, it's really sort of, this week is offering inspirations on some level, and also the adventure of stepping into those dreams. And then Saturn is going to come in the mix and start to want to anchor in real, solid, sustainable actions that support this vision. Welcome, China La Jones. Bless my Aries sun, 4-4. Oh, I have to tell you, having an Aries child can be a little bit unsettling when you're adjusting to it, when you're getting used to the busy energy of it. But at the same time, you've got a little warrior who's going to fight for you. Okay, let me also mention this, because as Neptune and Saturn are starting to separate, yes, we're still going to feel this energy of having to be more responsible and disciplined in the recreation of the self. Saturn in Aries, I think, is really not bad, because naturally The ruler of Aries, Mars, is exalted in Capricorn, which Saturn rules. So to me, there is a synergistic relationship where when Saturn gets into the house of Aries, it's about sitting in, and planning our moves. I just suddenly got an image of Lewis and Clark as they were, exploring Louisiana territory. You're going into an area you don't know. Okay. So you're doing your best and taking your skills. That would be Neptune, the Pisces energy that we've been building for the last 2 years as Saturn transit that house. And now we're putting it into the adventure. So I think this week will be sort of thinking about taking super sustainable steps to really build our dream life. We also have Venus conjunct Chiron this week, and it's happening all week long. It will be exact on the 26th. Venus doesn't just rule partnerships. She rules your self-worth, which I think is really what's happening here, because while Venus is considered in detriment in Aries, I think it's because the female energy has not been celebrated. And so the energy of the feminine, which is the energy of creation, the energy of receiving, is a little more bold, a little more brazen, a little more brash, a little more F you if you don't get in my boat. And that's why it's considered by the Muggle world, I think, in detriment. Now, having Venus transiting next to Chiron at the critical degrees this week is going to have to task her to really look at and understand that mastery is never a plateau. Mastery is an up and down journey of understanding. And that's the understanding of the self, the understanding of what I want to create. And as she's about to move into her rulership of Taurus, she could be a little anxious to get into familiar territory. So be mindful that you may feel a little wound of self, a little wound of this week. You may be triggered on, do I have worth? Will there be money for me? Is my partnership sustainable? Is this all good? There is historic evidence, but you have to research it. They have not been conjunct on the world axis of 0 degrees Aries since, I believe, the year 555 AD. So it's been about 1,470 years since they have come to this point. They have met in other signs, but not here at this kind of critical, when we're looking at the 0 degree of Aries, we're looking at literally birthing of the zodiac. So this has been tremendously influential for all the living beings that are managing the planet right now. We're really on a new soul stretch. We see Mars this week in a trine to Jupiter, and it's literally felt throughout the week. Jupiter is stationed either retrograde or now direct at 15 degrees of Cancer, which I find very interesting because I tend to look at multiple theories of astrology, and Christopher Witecki assigns the 5 to Mercury, okay, the 5th degree. And there's this jump. The mind is like zip, 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 and it's usually the monkey mind that's kind of running amok. Now the 1 represents the sun, my heart, the courage to have, to follow my dream. So when I'm looking at this 15 and I'm seeing this, hi, Queen Leo, I'm seeing this hovering, and then the trine to Mars, it almost is tasking me, where have I let my own anger and resentments and feeling invisible? Mars is in Pisces, so Mars is not in the strongest energy to, Mars has got to swim his way to the war rather than just charging in, and it can be a little exhausting. So here, I think this is a revision of beliefs. It's looking at where have I maybe allowed old energies, whether they're right or wrong or justified, they're still blocking me from my happiness. The more, I can't help but keep getting older every day. And every time I get frustrated, which has happened quite a bit lately with these transits, the south node, Neptune and Saturn have been sitting on my personal south node, and it's been a bear. And Chiron has been hovering my ascendant and opposing my Mars and my sun. So I've been saying to spirit, like, what the F, like I can't go around this mulberry bush over and over again. And literally spirit says to me, that's the nature of the beast, baby. It is. The human experience is one big mercurial mind, monkey mind. Will I fall into what everyone else is doing? And the only real way through that is to turn your head towards what works for you. It's not about being a doormat to other people or letting injustices sit, but it's more about moving towards what you want and then allowing yourself to recognize that the law of attraction will start to kick in. And whatever has been disruptive, divinely disruptive, that's how spirit tells me. I say annoyingly disruptive, but I can't disagree with the divine aspect, is compelling me over and over again to turn towards what is happy. And I want to offer this. This week was Lucky's birthday, and he would have been 14 years old. And I had an amazingly great day. I wasn't sad about him. I had a tinge of missing him, but the relationship I've been building with Lulu as a rescue dog has really opened so much up that it's helped me to see that both creatures were brought into my life for different reasons. And Lucky's job was done. His job as he lived through the whole Neptune transit in Pisces. When Lulu came in, Lulu's like me. She's literally me in dog form. She's quirky, she's spunky, she's spicy, she's loving. And I feel this rapport with her and I watch her thrive, and it brings much joy to me. So this is where spirit was seeing, when you turn your head towards what feels good, it doesn't mean you're not honoring what's been out of balance or what hasn't felt good. It just means that you're starting to see things more from spirit's point of view. You're understanding that the divine disruption, while it brings you down, is offering you something new and expansive. So this is, to me, this is playing back to the Mars trining Jupiter. Oh, Lucky was not a placeholder for Lulu. Lucky had an absolute specific purpose, and that was to compel me through the love of my dog to stand on my own 2 feet. I wasn't allowed to bring my dog to work. And the idea of him sitting home with the cats for some reason for years, I didn't care that they lived in the house all day long. But when the dog showed up, I had to make sure the dog lived a more full life. So I kept coming home, and in my Aries pissed off nature, I'd be like, I'm not going to be trapped in this job anymore. I'm going to walk you whenever I want. And I started to declare what I wanted. And then circumstances started to swirl. Uranus came on my ascendant. I literally got pissed off one day and quit my job and trusted what I had been building when it came to doing my intuitive work. And the more I trusted that, the more I got more clients and more clients. And here it is. I started that work independently in 2014. And here I am 12 years later. Kind of interesting to think of it that way, because I'm actually coming up on the anniversary, which was March, April of that year. So Lucky's purpose was to have me step into myself. Lulu's purpose is to be here to give me love. I believe that wholeheartedly. I learned to love, I don't know if it was about dogs really, Cece, because I always loved dogs. I just always thought dogs were like having a child, and I didn't feel responsible enough. And not that I couldn't care for one, but emotionally in tune enough. And so as I shifted from cats, who are very independent but loving, they don't require the same kind of emotional IQ. A dog really pulls you into, a dog is like a baby, I think. Anyway, now let's just talk about Uranus. Is still at 28 degrees of Taurus. They are absolutely our children. Uranus at 28 degrees Taurus, and again, making aspects to the other outer planets. It's loosening up a bit, but what I want to offer is, right now, the 28th degree is a Cancerian degree. Hey, J-Dog, welcome to the room. And so how am I nurturing my dreams? How am I taking my skills? How am I using my own voice and opinion to myself to open up that space? the space of what does my life look like when I'm living of ease? Because I want to offer this too. I don't think that ease is really having enough money in the bank or having a partner that's going to take care of you when your body collapses. I think ease is a trust of flow. It's literally being more and more aware of what you put out, you bring sort of back to you, and not for punishment, but rather for awareness. So I think that this week, this is going to come up a lot. I think it's also really powerful to think about the idea that, we've got this cluster of personal planets that have been in Pisces and now moving into Aries. And subsequently, they're going to move into Taurus. But it's transcendence. It's transcending where I felt invisible, where I had no voice, where I was living on a karmic imprint that I wasn't even aware I was doing. And how brave am I willing to be to let go of resentments, to let go of anger? And letting go is I don't like that term. Letting grow, GROW. Because by letting it grow, this whole, I keep seeing my big fat Greek wedding, this whole idea of turning my head towards what makes me happy. And I don't even know if I know what that is all the time. Sometimes it's just not putting pressure on myself to perform, to produce, to somehow be something that other people think is productive. I think that at the end of my days, I want to be satisfied with how I made my choices. And this is also why I think it's so beautiful to have a beast in your house, because, when you have a creature in your home, you see that they don't stress over other animals' opinions of them. They don't, when they're happy and they're comforted, they relax. They just chill. Humans don't chill. We stress all the time. Zzz, Jupiter at 15 degrees. Where will I have the courage to recognize that my mind often drives me, but not from my heart, the one, but rather through what other people will think of what I'm doing with my time. Okay, that's pretty much all I have to say. Maybe, maybe not. You know me, I always talk a little bit too much. All right, happy birthday again to my Aries. May you find this transit truly empowering to you, and may you be brave enough to recognize when to use your sword and when to put it down. Sophie, I'll be praying for Zeus. Thank you, J-Dog. You might, I don't know where you are in the world, but I buy goat's milk, and I did it for Lucky, and I just take that into Lulu. It has good probiotics and helps with their belly and digestion. So let's jump into our readings. As per usual, we're going to start with the birthday month, which just happens to be the beginning of the Zodiac, and work our way around. And let's start with our tarot card for our Aries. It is the Hanged Man. It calls the Hanged One here. Now, this card is often a card associated with pausing, stopping, everything stops. And humans, again, move, be productive, get things done. Make sure that when you talk to somebody that you don't really even, know that they think that you're contributing to society. There is a weird imprint always of us having to step up and make other people happy. It starts when you're a baby. Good babies don't cry. Good children listen to their teachers and their parents and do their homework. I was thinking yesterday, I wonder what it would be like if a parent actually said to their grammar school child, "What makes you happy? What do you want to do? Where do you want to spend your time? How can we foster that?" I think maybe that will be how the children that are being born now will be raised. We'll see. But I think people will be more aware. So for my Aries, the Hanged One, the number 12. So we see like a cycle. Okay, I think of 12s. There's 12 items in a dozen. There were 12 disciples. There's 12 signs of the Zodiac. Somewhere, Spirit is offering you an illumination, but you're going to get to slow down a little bit. And maybe that's why your ruling planet is in Pisces right now, making a trine to Jupiter, offering you an opportunity to really revisit, like, Is this a belief that's active and current in my life, or is this a belief that I've just had for so long that I don't even realize I have it? And interestingly enough, we have 12 people in the room right now. So let's see where we might see some focus on this. Because this Saturn Neptune conjunction is a reconstruction of the self, and not from a place of earthly structures, but rather Neptune structures, creative structures, compassionate structures. Empathy, not just for others, but for the self as we stumble and kind of, banging around in the dark. If you think about it, the Aries energy is literally coming out of the womb. It's not just the birth of the self, it's the birth of a whole new environment. All right. Our first angel for Aries is Seraphina. That's the angel of happy families. We have Vanessa, the angel of faith and fear, but she is upside down. We have Crystal. Crystal's also about faith and hope. Aries can be very impatient. And then we have Daniel, the angel of history and marriage, also upside down. So apparently this week for Aries is going to be a week potentially of not necessarily physical action, but of strategic action. The angel of happy families is straight up. So clearly Spirit is saying well, I shouldn't be so bold, but I am. What makes you happy? What makes it a happy family? Because I think often if you think about what your gut reaction is to that question, they'll be like, oh, plenty of money on the bank, food in the, it's never about, oh, I want to spend the day making sourdough bread. I want to spend the day watching, old movies. I want to relax. Aries isn't known for their relaxation. Okay. Seraphina is being joined by creative action and optimism. Definitely Spirit saying, take some time, slow it down, turn things upside down, because there's an illumination being offered. And the thing about the Hanged One as well is that it is a card that is considered one of sacrifice. But I don't necessarily think that it's sacrifice in the way, again, where I have to give up what I want so that you can be happy. I think the sacrifice is giving up parts of the ego, the alarmist, the worrier, the part of us that believes in the density of these bodies. Okay, Vanessa's being joined. Vanessa is upside down. Faith and fear is upside down for Aries, and the water fairy is straight up. Well, if your ankle and your foot isn't working, your upper body's working, so you can chair dance. This is a way of getting creative action. All right, Aries, Crystal is upside down in the angel's advice, and the wealth card is joining her. Okay. And then finally, the wind fairy. Okay, this is literally about Aries history. All right, Aries, so often people talk about the darkness of Aries, the warrior, the blunt, the rude person, the antagonist, the aggressor, and I think part of that is because Aries comes out fighting, we're baiting their way out of the womb. And here there's something about Aries going over their history. And the more they go over their history, the more they go over the feelings that weren't acknowledged, the more things will feel topsy-turvy. Because the fire fairy is starting off here asking you and tasking you on your birthday week, your solar return, to say, what do I really want? How much time? Because when we're in resentment or anger, and justified no less, then we tend to go, I want someone outside to validate that. I need closure on that situation. Yet the closure comes from within. Because if you want to be happy, start thinking about what makes you happy. Then we have here, Vanessa, will you make your decisions based on faith or fear? This clearly would indicate fear, and I'm stuck in my old emotions. In the angel's advice, Crystal's trying to tell you something would be better, but if the laws of attraction are true, it's not going to happen to you. It's going to be partially because you participated in it. And there's that wealth card. The wealth card to me is kind of Jupiterian. It's like I start thinking about things from a harmonious place. It's a broad card. It's not about money, because what is money if you don't have good health? And what is good health without money? We need a balance of things. So here, Spirit is literally saying, please stop thinking about your past. Because the angel, Daniel, the angel of marriage, is not just about marriage. It's about connections. It's about how you interact with other people. And oftentimes, because Aries is so individual, there's a lot of military leadership in that sign. So it tends to, when it's unconscious, it can placate other people. It can pretend to be listening, pretend to be cooperative, and not necessarily be. So I think that this is about Aries recognizing potentially their co-creation, and especially when they're young, and they're not, they're just, when you're young, when you're still in your 30s and your 40s, you're still punching at the world, fighting to make your way. So now I think with this conjunction and with this solar return, it's about slowing it down. It's about looking from a spiritual perspective, what is most important to you. And literally, I think you might have to put things on a pause, because you can't quickly think this through, Aries. You literally have to surrender the time so that inspiration can come through. This is almost a Jesus take the wheel moment, really, for you. And not that I'm saying that Jesus wants to drive the car of everyone's life. What I'm saying is that your tendency to want to take action to make things happen could be the very thing that's blocking you from making things happen. There's a tongue twister. Georgia, I'm so sorry to hear about your Aunt Rosa. I think it's really wonderful to pass away peacefully. I think I told you guys that my neighbor Gus, he crossed himself over with medical assistance on the eclipse on the 17th of February. And I inherited a piece of his furniture this week. And let me tell you, is it a cool piece of furniture? So, yes, he did, J-Dog. And I think, kind of reminds me of an old Indian, that walks out into the forest or onto the desert and gives itself to the Great Spirit. It says, I'm ready to leave this earth plane and go into the next transition. And so, yeah. And it was interesting, too, because I spoke to Gus quite a bit during his stay in the hospital before he got home. And because I'm an Aries and I'm very, very passionate, my Taurus moon in the first house, I think that he didn't tell me what he was going to do, because I would have tried to manage it somehow. Even unconsciously, I would have been like, you're going to do what? You'll get better. Oh, no, that's too big of a jump, don't you? So I think it's why he kept it in wraps. And I think that his passing has actually affected how I'm handling small wildflowers, because I keep worrying about being too pushy. I want her to choose her time. And choose her way of healing her body. And I'm just so anti, the establishment on some level, because I see more pain than I see pleasure. So I've just been allowing, I'm trying to let go, let God. I'm trying to be the hanged one. Okay. It's happy birthday time for the Aries. Yes, I'm a Libra, so I don't have, but it is my rising sign. Okay, let's go on to our Tauruses. Are you ready, Taurus? Oops, I got two cards. Your card is, the Empress. This is your card. No, it's not bad. It's just, when I talk about my Aries rising, you could think it's my birthday time. It's my half birthday time. Prayers for small. So the Empress, this Taurus is just lovely. First of all, it's your ruling planet, Venus. And I want to offer, because this week, Venus is conjunct Chiron, and it's in your 12th house, technically. So this could be a wound of you being adventurous. Taurus moves slow. Taurus is, of all the earth signs, Taurus moves the slowest. It wants to really get in there and make sure that the planting and what it's growing is sustainable and will provide resources for years. And so sometimes, I don't know if everybody understands, the more I do astrology, the more I understand people's processes a little bit. I'm a little bit more patient with their processes. So here, I think that as Uranus is in the last degrees of Taurus, and you've been going through this series of unexpected interruptions that have compelled you to look to your future, now is a time to start to think about the small details of that future. The Empress, to me, has everything that she would require, but it's there with ease. You see that I'm not sure this is a throne or whether those are just her wings, but there are butterfly wings behind her. The moon is behind her. It feels like in this card, it's depicting her as understanding her emotional body, understanding her intuition. And I want to offer this too, because I think that Taurus likes to honor its history, but sometimes part of the honoring of it is if there's been imbalance in your history, it doesn't mean that you're negative towards that. It's more about that being the catalyst for moving in a new direction. Because I think this is a card of abundance. I think that the owl and the star that sit above her are very much allowing for an incorporation. If we think about the idea that Uranus is at 28 degrees, that's the Cancerian degree. So to me, it's very much about does the garden that I'm growing within me actually help represent for other people? It's not like we have to be an inspiration, but when we walk our talk, then I think that inspires other people to walk whatever their talk is. And Taurus rules your opinion. So let's see where we're going. While I'm shuffling, I started about 3 weeks ago, doing a health bounce on my rebounder every day, just 10 minutes. And then I do a 30-minute walk with Lulu every morning, and she drags me down the street at light speed. So I'm kind of considering that exercise these days. Lucky was the opposite. Lucky would stop at every twig, every leaf, and smell it. Lulu's like, let's go. She's spicy, this girl. But I've been feeling better. The rebounder, or the little mini trampoline, the reason I'm doing it is to move the lymphatic system, to keep the juices flowing. Lymphatic system is ruled by Pisces. So I was like looking at the stars, I was looking at what was going on, and I'm like, I should just jump on this. Literally, like jump on it as an idea and jump on it as a way to help facilitate the Piscean energy. And that Piscean energy is creative inspirations. And so I think that has helped me be in a good place with Lucky's birthday this week. Hey, DJ, good to see you. Oh, a vibration plate. Oh, I bet that's fun. My grandmother used to have one of those belts that was on a machine, and you would shake your hips. I used to love that thing as a kid. My sister and I would go in her room and play on that. I know. Now he's in heaven. And I think he's happy there. All right. So Taurus, Ray is upside down. Somewhere your connection to spirit might be a little off. Archangel Michael is asking you to have the courage to make the changes that Uranus is bringing into your awareness. Bethany is a card of self-care and the angel's advice. And then finally, we have Maya, the angel of schooling and education. And I don't necessarily think this is literally school. I think that this is more about your journey of Uranus's long transit, 8 years, I think it's been about, since it moved into Taurus. And I think that has been your education. These lightning strikes of things that you've done, either consciously or unconsciously, that have inadvertently kept you stuck on one path. And that path might have been narrowing a bit. And Uranus is in here to awaken it, to awaken you into this Empress energy. And with Venus, your ruling planet conjunct Chiron this week, it could be where you have some sort of, because if Aries is your 12th house and they come conjunct, there's a wound of self that can happen or trigger somewhere where you're like, if I'm not working hard, if I'm not plowing that field, if I'm not creating this thing. If I'm not dutiful to my family, the you know what's going to hit the fan. I'm going to be unworthy. It's just a little sketchy. So let's see where we're going. We have the forgiveness card upside down with Ray. We have the hawk upside down. We have the raven upside down. And then we have the frog. Okay. So this is a week to be gentle with yourself. This is a week to, good morning, outer spice. Taurus, I want you to start to think that you don't have to continue to push on something. Right now, I literally am seeing like a cow dragging a hoe down and trying to unearth something. And I feel like this Empress is about receiving something. Okay. So here upside down is Ray, your connection to spirit, to your own soul's voice, to a deeper knowing and a deeper love within is upside down. And then there's the forgiveness card. I don't really like the word forgiveness. I prefer reconciliation somehow, because I nobody has ever really, very few people have apologized to me with any sort of remorse. It's usually a defensive apology, and I don't respond very well to that. So, and I'm a Taurus moon. So here I would offer this. This isn't about forgiveness. This is about you deciding what you want. And I think that Spirit says that when you connect, when you open up to receive rather than try to push, that you will start to feel that energy, that idea. Here, Archangel Michael is literally asking you to have the courage to turn the hawk right up so you can see things from a broader perspective. You might be seeing things from too narrow of a place. In the angel's advice is Bethany, Taurus, the card of self-care, but the timing is off. So something's not happening. Either when I was younger, I used to say, until this happens, I can't do that. And I learned, through a variety of divine disruptions that yes, you can make choices even if they're hard, or even if they're not convenient, or even if they ruffle other people's feathers. Okay, because I think that, Taurus is the silent one. There's an energy inside Taurus that can be very strong, but at the same time, because of the need for resources and security, that can like somehow mask a deeper truth. That's what I think. Because Maya is the card of schooling and education, and then the frog is about the moving on from emotional stuff, okay, moving to the next lily pad. That's not happening. So it could be that this week, or I'm going to say this week, that somewhere you are tasked to use your voice to delineate to someone or something or an experience, or even to yourself, about how you're processing an experience. And if it's really lined up to who you've evolved into, or are you inadvertently throwing yourself back into an old story? Remember, Saturn and Neptune are still transiting your 12th house. They're wanting to break up and any karmic divots or damage that would not allow you to fully embrace the self and the exploration and adventure of that. So remember, you're an Empress. All right, let's go on to our Geminis, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. The weather here has been so funky weird. Like a couple days ago, it was like 85 degrees, and now it's 60 degrees. I don't know whether to pull out all my turtlenecks or my shorts. All right, Gemini. Now, this is an interesting one. The High Priestess. This is the energy where the Fool discovers the ability to connect with the soul, its own soul, while in the earthly experience. But this is upside down. So think about your ruling planet, which is Mercury, is stationed. It is actually, isn't it having a conversation? Yes, it's having a conversation with the North Node. And then it's going to move again forward through Pisces. So I want to offer this. You may inadvertently have a lot of CC pups. You may have a soul knowing that your mind is masking somewhere. And the idea of going back and forth. I also want to offer this too, because I just got a hit. I did an astrology report for someone the other day, and Mercury was present, but it was coming through and presenting very much about siblings, everyday routines, people I interact with. I'm wondering if potentially for my Geminis, the High Priestess is telling you that there's something that you know intuitively that you're not listening to about your everyday activities, the people you're interacting with, your mercurial people, like your workmates, your teammates, your neighbors, the moms in the school line, your own cousins, your own children. Let's see where we're going. It just feels like it might be a little bit, humidity, my hair. This is why my hair's in a bun today. I took a shower and then I looked at, started to blow dry, and all that happens is Rosanna Dana. I just get frizz. So I just stuck it up in a clip. This is my Venus in Virgo with the South Node transiting it. It's very hard for me to try to doll up. And, okay, TMI probably, but I tried to put eyeliner on this morning, and I'm trying to make the line all smooth like when I was young, but my skin is like different. And then I go through all that trouble, and then the hoods of my eyes just cover it anyway. I started laughing at myself. Humidity is worse than heat. I melt in humidity. I'm not good in humidity. All right, Gemini, let's see where we're going. The High Priestess is saying it's time to dig deeper into something emotional. And I don't mean like try to think your way through your emotions. It's letting your emotions tell your brain what your deeper truth is. That's what I think is going on. Our first angel is the angel of schooling and education, Maya. The second is Isabella, which is a timing card. Yes. Seraphina is upside down. She's the angel of happy families. She showed up earlier. And then Chantal, the angel of romance. Okay. Gemini, what do you know? What do you already know deep down inside? Because that Maya with schooling and education, it's something about you already having some information about something. And you may not want to really know that information. When I first started playing tarot card reader, I would have girls who would be coming to me, and I didn't charge when I was younger. I was just like, they were my friends, and I would know their relationships, and the relationships would start off, and then they'd start to get rocky, and you'd see it in the cards. And then once they felt the truth of that, they wouldn't come back until the breakup had taken place, because they didn't want to hear about what they knew on the inside. Somewhere, Gemini has a piece of information that's coming from your soul, from your heart, from the bigger part of you. But maybe, let's see, Maya is being joined by the bear. There's the history of storytelling. There is history there. Isabella's being joined. Timing is something is up, because she's being joined by the raven. Both are about timing. Seraphina is upside down, but being joined by the love card. And finally, Chantal is being joined by the High Priestess. Oh, God, we got the High Priestess up here twice with you, Gemini. So here we are, your ruling planet going through the sign of Pisces, which is like swimming through your brain, swimming through your emotions. I think that you're to learn through your history. You're to pay attention to what you have already experienced. And even if there's no hardcore evidence, you can start to see a pattern. I see patterns in everything. I don't know how my mind is wired, but I can see patterns in cracks on the sidewalk. I can see patterns in people. And I feel like this is about history and to learn from your history. And it's trying to talk to you, because Isabella is saying, yes, the timing is right. And then the raven is about magic. It's about synchronistic events. And I want to offer it this way, because oftentimes when we are emotionally invested in a situation, we put our own truth aside. We put our own self-care aside. And inadvertently, that does not really help heal the relationship. It actually nurtures the imbalance of the relationship. And it isn't until we stand up for our deeper truth and say, no more. And this is beyond anger. This is beyond fighting. This is when you come into resolution with something. Then it changes. And oftentimes, especially I think with some women, once they get there, there's no coming back because they weren't self-nurturing on the way. So here, angels are saying, look at the love because something is upside down. Something is not thriving. Now we have Chantal and the High Priestess. Chantal is about love. It's about the resurgence of love. But I don't think it's talking about, ooh, yay, you're going to have a resurgence. It's about the High Priestess asking you, this week you start off unclear potentially, not listening to your gut, not listening to your emotions. When we turn the High Priestess upside down in this deck, look at all these moons. Now something becomes more clear for you. Or your soul starts to speak more loudly and you start listening a little bit more. You may not take direct action about it just yet, but you may start to observe things from a different place. There was a weird feeling this week. And Lulu came into my life 2 weeks after Lucky passed away. I was not ready for her. And yet I found myself drawn to the experience, drawn to making it happen. And there was a guilt because I thought I should be sad. I should be miserable. I should be, crying about Lucky. And then I realized and I heard Spirit say, don't you remember that grief tethers the soul, but not in a good way. It tethers them so they clips their wings. So by loving Lulu and by celebrating Lucky's birthday through joy, it was actually allowing him to move on. It was a greater vibration. Rather than loss, I was looking at gratitude. And so I didn't need the grieving process the way that I was trained to express it. So there may be something going on with your love life where you're figuring out that you don't need an old habit and your soul is trying to talk you into something more expansive. All right, let's move on to our Cancers, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. All righty. The card for our Cancers, is the Six of Pentacles. I really think this is a law of attraction card because in the Rider-Waite deck, the traditional tarot, there's two characters that are sitting on their knees begging a benefactor to bestow, something on them. And I think, whether it be wealth or benefit of some kind. And it took me decades to really understand the Six of Pentacles because one day I just noticed their cloaks. One guy is wearing almost a copper-colored orange cloak, and the other one is wearing a blue cloak. The guy who's wearing the orange cloak is receiving the money. The benefactor is dropping the coins on him. Where the guy in the blue cloak, he's holding the scales of justice over his head. And what that is, to me, is the law of attraction. The guy in the orange cloak is absolutely focused on what he wants, not the hill, not the mountain to climb to get there, just what he wants. So he's drawn in the benefactor, where the guy in the blue cloak has been talking about the hill, about how hard it's going to be. Oh, I need the money. And so nothing's happening over here. Cancer, what are you focused in on? Are you focused in on the deficit? Are you focused in on the worry? Are you focused in on what's not happening? Because in this deck, that rare white buffalo, to me, is the gift of awareness, the gift of the peace pipe, and knowing that this is a card of balance. Look at it. The threes on one side, everything in here feels very balanced to me. So let's see where we're going. And I want to offer this too, because the square that Cancer is feeling to not only Saturn and Neptune in early Aries, but also Chiron in late Aries. So there's sort of like, depending on what you have in your Cancer house, there's a lot there that's creating tension. And I want to offer it this way because the tension is not meant to call you into old habits. I think it's meant to call you into awareness as to what you are, how you're thinking, what you're focusing in on, what you're declaring. Ooh. All right, our first angel is Patience, but she's upside down. The second is Isabella, she's straight up. The third is Serafina, and she's upside down. And the final is Vanessa, which is about faith or fear. Okay, this is a realignment of your emotional body, I'll bet you, or an awareness. The other thing that's been going on, which Cancer may not really, it's not what we would talk about, on, I can't find my words. Your Cancer is experiencing a sextile and has to Uranus. As Uranus entered Taurus, it started to create a sextile to the Cancer energy. So in that, there needs to be an activation from the Cancer side to activate something and to be willing to grow that, to use the Taurus energy of kind of standing like a bull and like holding space for whatever that is that you want to grow. Because Patience is saying that you don't need any more information. You don't need to sit anymore and wait for something. Now is the time. Now I look at this horse, and the horse to me, I see the movement of the horse, and it's about, on the face of the card, it says accepting help from another or delegating authority. This would be to the Great Spirit. This would be to the rare white buffalo. I am going to give my spirit. This is what I want to experience. And I am no longer going to sit and wait and talk about when I feel better. I'm going to create and start moving towards that now. And when I move towards it, it isn't about taking physical action. It's about using my Cancerian energy to nurture an emotion that I want to experience. That's why Isabella is saying, yes, the timing is right. And there's the frog for you to release something emotionally. Now, I hate the word release, but integration. Oftentimes what we don't recognize is that when we worry or when we fret or we want something, we often spend the majority of that time, 99.9%, again, climbing up the emotional hill, fighting where it's not going to happen. And that is a co-creation. So Serafina, in the angel's advice, almost makes me feel like, for my Cancers, you're not connected to spirit. You're not connected to a bigger picture, your family in heaven. And now is a time to risk that. You don't have to manage it. You don't have to walk towards it. You don't have to keep your eye on it. You just get to keep your heart on something. And that might be a challenge for you right now because Vanessa's upside down, faith or fear. And this is spirit protecting you from your fears, protecting you from potential insecurities or feeling less than. But remember that you are a co-creator, Cancer, and you're a powerful co-creator because you absolutely represent the womb where the child is created before it steps out into the physical. So now I think you're being tasked to start to look at how much time I'm spending focused in on, well, I don't know when that's going to happen. And until that person does this, I can't do that. And where are you putting the blocks up for you? And where can you risk taking them down? It's that all, it may not be now, but it'll be, it's kind of that thought to me. I really, as I've aged, have recognized that stalls, the stars will bring stalls. I know that, but I'll co-create with them. I'll start to give into the stall. I'll start to buy into the stall. I'll buy into the pause, the poverty, this isn't going to happen. And when I do that, it starts to just swirl. And almost the minute I recognize I'm doing that, and I say to Spirit, thank you for recalibrating my mind. I know I'm in this physical apparatus. It has its own operating system. Now help me override that operating system into my happiness. That's where we're all headed right now. If we will go. If we will go. All right. Here we go. We're on to our Leos. And your card is the Hierophant, but it's upside down. That might be a little bit of Pluto's influence opposing your first house, even maybe your 12th house. I think Pluto's at 5 degrees this week. I didn't write that down. And that would absolutely be bringing something, we think of the 7th house as partnership, cooperation, but it really is harmony and balance. I mean, that's part of it. It's a big part of it that doesn't get recognized. Justice lives in that 7th house. So this could be where you get to revisit something, and maybe it's your connection to your higher power. Because now I'm seeing that what's coming out of the guy's crown is sort of at the foreground here when it's upside down. Let's see where we're going. It also might be that your beliefs feel topsy-turvy. Well, you know what? Don't say it's Queen Leo. This is what I want you to do, because the trine part is where the stutter comes in. It's where, we're like, this law of attraction thing doesn't work. I want you to say that, because the ankle and the foot, to me, when I look at it, first of all, the ankle and the foot, mostly the foot, is ruled by Pisces. Okay. So there is this feeling as the planets Mars and what has been happening in the Pisces energy. We've been on eclipse axes. And if the North Node is somehow, contributing to the situation with your foot, are you able to move forward? Are you willing to walk forward? And if indeed you aren't willing to emotionally walk forward, maybe that honoring that this moment is not about endless grief or endless suffering or endless feeling invisible, but rather a temporary moment to recalibrate, to think what is truly important to me and what is not, who is and who is not. All right, Leo, Maya, schooling and education. This is your spiritual schooling. It must be upside down a little bit. Daniel, the angel of marriage, is upside down. Isabella is in the angel's advice saying, yes, the timing is right. And then Grace and Antoinette is about seeing things from another person's point of view. Okay. Now I want to offer, we don't talk about this much, but I think it's in Vedic astrology. The 1st, the 5th, and the 9th houses are Dharma houses, and they offer reward. The 1st house is focused on the self. The 5th house is also focused on the self, the creative self, okay? And then the 9th house is focused in on beliefs, on expansion. So there's something here where I'm looking at my Leos and I'm like, remember that 1st house is a Dharma house. And when you apply the things that you've learned about following your heart, and your heart really, when I say that, I feel like I want to say to everybody, okay, first thing you think your heart says to you, it's not your heart, it's your fear. Look deeper, go one level deeper. And how I had this epiphany was when I first started working for myself. I thought I wanted money. I want money in the bank. I want money in the bank. I realized I want time. I don't like to get up early. I like to get up. I like to walk the dog. I like to come home, make breakfast, have a cup of coffee, take a shower. I might not get to starting work until 11 o'clock. And I actually used to fight that. I should be at work at 9. I should be doing everything. No, I get to choose. I get to pick the pattern and the rhythm of my life. Okay. And that is more evidence now in these modern times because we don't have to worry about survival as much. That's a hangover from when we had to get up and plow the fields while the sun was still up. And time was more relevant than in getting ourselves in a safe place survival-wise. And we forget that it's barely 100 years ago. People were still, some people lived without electricity. All right. Maya is being joined by the Earth Fairy, Leo. Interesting. Daniel is upside down, being joined by the relational spider card. Isabella is being joined by the perception card. And finally, we have Grace and Antoinette being joined by the cat. The Earth Fairy represents foundations, grounding, this sort of anchoring in. And I feel like with the Hierophant being upside down, I'm going to say this lovingly to my Leos. Every once in a while, I think that Leo when they're feeling good and feeling like things are thriving, that spiritual part of themselves, is easier to handle. But when things start to take a dip, it may feel a little bit more like you're back in your muggle mind. Because here I think Spirit's saying, Leo, it's time to anchor in what you know about your spirituality, about the law of attraction, about the law of compensation, about cycles, about how things ebb and flow. And I mean, I have experienced so much death in the last year. Lucky, Mike, Jeremy, and now Gus. There's like one every quarter. And even though I'm used to it, it's hit me in really weird ways and made me feel vulnerable, because the spider card is here with the Daniel. And this is running to me like relationships, and not intimate relationships per se, but my history in relationships. And if they're jive, if they're coming together. And because Leo rules fun, and it rules good times, it rules laughter, it literally thrives at the peak of the summer when the sun, at least for us in this side of the world, is shining bright, because the timing is right to check your perceptions, to see how you are co-creating with the universe. Because the compassion card here and the cat's coming up as 9 lives to me. So let's just put it this way. Something passed, something ended. Pluto has done what it does. It transforms, it knocks something off its platform, and sometimes it's a metaphoric passing, sometimes it's a literal passing, but somewhere your beliefs have been shaken, and it's time to recalibrate back down to a deeper level of what does your soul want. Me as an example, my soul does not want money. My soul wants ease. My soul wants flow. My soul wants time. And money is a resource to facilitate that. When I become aware of that, then when I'm having an emotional upset, like somebody dying every frickin' 3 months, then I understand when I'm going through the dip and people aren't booking or money's not flowing, I will realign, and I can have that healthy boundary and know that have self-compassion with my fears or my human experience, or however this, because life is rolling in a very funky way right now. So be compassionate, but also recognize that there are 9 lives. And if something has ended or something feels like it's ending, it doesn't necessarily mean it is over, or the dynamic of what brings pleasure is over. It means it's being recalibrated to something that is more aligned to a deeper truth. All right, on to our Virgos, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. And if you have a stellium in Virgo right now, I bless you, because you've been walking through a lot of letting go of really some more spiky energy that Virgo can contain, meaning perfectionism, worry, being there for everyone else but yourself. All of those things are great and noble, but they're not nurturing and truly fulfilling. Okay, here we go. Wheel of Fortune is turning your way. The notes are going to change to the Leo Aquarius axis. Oh God, that axis is going to be fun for all of us. At some point, Jupiter and the South Node are going to meet in Leo. I haven't looked at that, done much research on it, but it's been banging around in my head, and I'm just really wondering what that's going to be. But because the Wheel of Fortune is about good luck. It's about the wheel is changing, it's turning, and it's really important for you, Virgo, to not marry yourself to old processes that leave you stuck. And that's what it is. I think that will be great for Smalls. I'm hoping that she's using the juicer. I bought her now that I think she's not on a food restriction. I've been juicing celery every day for the last, I'm really bad at it, but that's part of my little health bounce, my 30-minute walk and celery juice. Just get it in every day. And I literally can feel after a week things starting to move. And yeah, I can put a direct correlation to what I eat and how I feel. So, all right, let's see, Virgo, where is the wheel's going up? And it might be that the Wheel of Fortune for Virgo is representing that while you do analyze and see patterns and you can, plan, don't get stuck in this south node if it's eroding something, if something feels like it's slipping through your fingers, if more toxicity than you normally like to look at, because sometimes when we are of service to other people, it becomes horrifically out of balance. And the Virgo energy, like all the earth signs, will tend to suck it up. Okay, I'm just going to suck it up and keep doing that, because at some point they got used to being so of service to others, and you don't know what to do with yourself when you don't have a chore to do, something to worry about, something to fix, All right, Virgo, here we go. Patience. Now is the time to learn and study and gather information. Sonia, the angel of guides and deceased loved ones, is here. Then we have Akasha, the spiritual teacher. And finally, Layla. Oh, so Spirit is literally saying to Virgo, it's time to start to plan the future, but not from where you've been, but from where you want to go. I was watching, I love The Traitors, right? And I was watching the most recent season of the UK, and they had to climb up this ladder. I mean, like they went on a dam, and I'm telling you, I look at these things, I'm like, I would never be able to do it. My fear would get me. And one girl said all she did when she was going up this ladder was just looking straight at the wall like this. I feel this is a little bit like what Virgo might have to do. Don't look up too high. Don't look down too low. Just stay where you are. Patience is being joined by the stag. Sonia is being joined by the novice. A new beginning is ushered in. Akasha is being joined by the partnership card. And the final is Layla is being joined by the trust card. I literally think that the Wheel of Fortune is telling Virgo that things are shifting, that this last transit has been compelling you towards that peace and harmony of the seventh house. We could talk about physical partnerships that might be part of what you want in your life, but regardless of that physical aspect, as an individual, as a leader, the stag, is now time to learn, to seek information and experiences where you stand in leadership for what you want and recalibrate that into service of others. I am not a sacrificial lamb for your happiness. That's not balance. Because the new beginning is to start to see things from spirit, to listen truly to the voice within that is spirit's voice, and to come into partnership with that and the teachings of it. Because again, when we step into our power, we invite others to step into their power. And nobody really ever grows when we turn and we coddle the challenge. Because here, spirit is saying, really take time to slow down, Virgo. Take time to put your feet in something earthy, sand, water, grass, dirt, and then trust. Trust that what you're intending, that the wheel is shifting. And what was happening in this last year was, I kind of looked at it this way. For me personally, my South Node representing my bad habits or my habits of behavior, my habits of perspective, as Saturn, which erodes, limits, restricts, and Neptune erodes and washes away, makes foggy. They were washing away my old habits so that I could then step more succinctly into the truth of who I am on a level rather than being just a pissed off Aries rising. So here as Virgo, this perfectionism, this self-criticism, the I have to instead of I get to energy is what has been being washed away. And now you get to step into a more expansive energy as the wheel lightens up for you. All right, let's go on to our Libras, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Did you see Lulu's butt when she walked into the other room? I caught her. She does zoomies on the bed. She does some of the most quirky, funny things. She has this little fox that she plays with. It came with her from her foster home. And she'll tend to roll on her back and play like a cat, hitting it with her back feet. She's so funny. And then she'll do zoomies on my bed like crazy. She'll get under the covers and do that. It's just so cute. I don't care. I'm like Zoom on my bed all day long, make a mess. Oh, Libra, yay. The Emperor, literally the Aries energy is coming up for Libra. So somewhere, and that's what I absolutely think any opposition right now that you're experiencing, Libra, because Aries is your seventh house, it could potentially be your sixth house and even your eighth house, but somewhere there's an individualism coming, you being an adventurer. And if we think about the idea that Mars is trining Jupiter this week, and let me think, Mars is in Pisces, Jupiter's in Cancer, Libra squares Cancer. So I think Cancer, isn't that your 10th house? Yeah, it would be. Yeah. So there must be something going on. Let me see. Well, obviously there's something going on. Libra, 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 Libra. Thank you, CC Pups, for marking the spots. Our first angel is Maya, schooling and education. It's so weird. Do you see me shuffle? How does this happen? The second is Rochelle, honoring your heart. Adriana's trying to lead you somewhere. And finally, Ray is connecting you to a deeper version of yourself. So I think you are the emperor this week. And it's time to sit on your adventurous throne. Thank you, CC Pups. Yeah, hit that like button, everybody. You don't have to hit the like button if you don't like it. I mean, my goodness. Okay, Maya is being joined by the burden card. Rochelle is being joined by the focus card. Adriana is being joined by the risk card. And the hawk is joining Ray. I think for my Libras, we just had eclipses, right? We went through eclipse season. It was in February and then early March. And I think some information is going to come through that may be a little challenging for you. Meaning the burden card to me, it feels as if I hear something, I learn something, and it feels challenging. And it forces me deeper out of my cooperative, passive, harmonious Libra energy and more into having to individualize or to look at something on how it affects me. Because Spirit is asking Libra to focus in on their heart, and that is where prosperity lies. Prosperity is really not money. Money is a component of prosperity, but it facilitates true prosperity. Because literally, if something is not working, Spirit is asking you to risk following a bigger picture, following something that the Emperor is compelling you towards. The Emperor is the Aries energy, the energy of the warrior, the energy of not just the worry, not just to go into war, but to go into honor, battle with honor. It's a knight. It's more altruistic than that. Thank you, DJ. So appreciate you, because here is Spirit both times asking you to connect and to see a bigger picture and to pay attention to the signs and the omens. So if for some reason Neptune and Saturn transiting your 6th, 7th, and really maybe 8th house, wherever those two planets are, they're compelling you. And they're compelling you in a way that's saying, where are you in this equation? Where are you, Libra? When I go through the Zodiac, there are certain signs I honestly feel are like walking through landmine fields, because there is a part of them that is so invested in the love and care of others. But that joy that they get from that can turn into obligation and duty and be erosive. So that might be what we're looking at. Where do you already know that something is a burden or someone or a situation? And where has that distracted you from following your heart or focusing in on what you want? And are you willing to risk a very altruistic dynamic of making yourself happy so that then you are more happy in how you interact with others? When Lucky had passed, there's some people that they call me and we do Zoom. You guys see me once a week. Sometimes these people see me more. And while I was going through the sadness, people didn't mention it much, but once I started to feel happy again or feel more myself again, people, would comment on what a relief it was to see me back to my old self, And I kind of feel like that's part of what's going on with Libra right now. It's like, where are you going to let yourself go back to your old self? Because Libra, you're experiencing, all the cardinals are going to experience Saturn and Neptune either in square, in conjunction, or in opposition. And here you experience it in opposition. And again, it's it's bookending because of Chiron going through Aries. There's a bookend here. There's like something is at the very beginning of the sign and something's at the end and the anaretic part of the sign. So we're being really compelled not to categorize that Aries energy as anger, resentment, frustration, and all the negative stuff. But where am I brave enough to adventure into a new perspective? And wherever that is in your chart, whatever house it is going to tell you the focus of the environment. Okay. Here we go. Oh, for my Scorpios. 5 of Cups. Not easy. And frankly, it could be very poignant because Pluto is squaring all the fixed signs or in opposition or in conjunction. And for Scorpio, it's a square. So something has been lost, but yet something will rise like the phoenix. And it's really hard sometimes when you're a Scorpio not to focus in on the dark side because the dark side comes a little bit easy for you, And when I say the dark side, I mean, the part where it's never going to change. The situation may be challenging. It may not be dark in and of itself. The effect is dark. This is always going to be this way. I'm always going to be sad. I'm always going to feel crappy, whatever. I might sneeze. And if I sneeze, Lulu may jump up into the chair in my lap. I don't know if I told you that she does that. When I sneeze, she runs from wherever she is to help me recover from my sneeze. She's a quirky girl, I tell you. All right, where are we going? Where is this focusing in on the spilt milk coming from? All right, first angel is Layla. This is again spending time out in nature, really feeling she is a little EMT. I got to tell you, J-Dog, she's quite funny. Grace and Antoinette is here in the angel's advice. I could fake one if you want, because she responds to fake ones when I was starting to. In fact, was it last night? Last night she was sitting in her bed. It was still sitting by the slider where she suns herself during the day. I put it back in its other spot. And I'm like, come here. And she wouldn't come here. So I went, and then she jumped up out of her chair and she was right there. It was so funny. Get some pollen in that nose. I'm a drainy little thing. All right, Scorpio, I'm sorry to interrupt your reading. Layla is starting us off in the foundational position, saying it's time to connect with spirit to get some perspective on whatever loss you're suffering. Here's compassion in the form of Grace and Antoinette. This is about self-care and the angel's advice. And in the final position is Oceana. Okay. Oceana is an emotional card, but it's a soul's emotion. It's not the human emotion. It's a deeper. That whale, that the fairy that is coming up through this ocean, she's rising above what has been. If you listen to Abraham or you listen to Esther Hicks, oftentimes in the lectures, she'll talk about that our energies and our manifestations are like corks. And if we push so hard on them under the water, if we would just let go, the cork would naturally come to the surface. This is what's part of the focus or the opportunity for Scorpio to experience. Let's see. Layla is being joined by the new beginning, the novice card. Okay. Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. Bethany is being joined by the Fear card. And the final is the Dog. Loyalty, sincerity, and love. Let the water flow. Exactly. Here's this new beginning because, I want to offer this. without realizing it, we oftentimes in our conversation, we start the wheels of manifestation. That's kind of how I started. I told earlier in the broadcast that being pissed off that I had to drive from, my job to home every day and to walk lucky, and my declaration that I would soon be able to not have to go to the job, but rather choose when I walked him. That was something that I didn't know I was putting out to the universe. And I would soon, literally, the anger that I felt was an energy that gave extra spice to that manifestation, because I think you've been calling forth something, Scorpio, without realizing it. I think you wanted one thing to end, and maybe you wanted, let me try to be more succinct. Energetically for Scorpio, it feels like I'm in a relationship and I want him to stop, or I want her to stop doing this behavior. And inadvertently, it stopped everything, because this is a divorce card. This is a loss. And what if spirit in its benign wisdom and your own soul is saying, have compassion for your deeper truth, because you need that. You also need self-respect in your interactions, because now you may fear that if I take care of me, I'm going to lose something else. But I don't know if that's true, because Oceana is offering a deeper level of love, a deeper level of loyalty, and a deeper level of sincerity. One of the things about the Scorpio energy, and oftentimes we think, oh, well, I'm not a Scorpio rising, I'm not a Scorpio moon, I'm not Scorpio this. I am an Aries rising, I'm a Libra sun, I'm a Taurus moon, and yet in Placidus, my seventh house is all Scorpionic. In order for me to feel truly connected to people, they have to be deep, and let me be deep. Let me have my psychological deep dive into the depths of who and what I am and what they are. Because somewhere there could potentially be a feeling of loss, but that loss may have been something that wasn't truly aligned to the depth that you possess and what you need in the way of connection. And I think that because Pluto rules physical death and annihilation, that inadvertently you yourself could be feeling Scorpio, because we've got your co-ruler Mars underwater in Pisces actually making a trine, but it is that bravery is digging into the Piscean energy. And this is when Scorpio is out of balance, it's just pissed off. It just wants to be pissed off and wants to be validated for being pissed off. That's like the Aries Mars energy. So Pluto's doing something. Pluto's breaking that up. And if Pluto is breaking up a superficial situation, it's going to bring in something more deep, or it will offer you something more deep. You'll have to accept it. Whew, this is kind of good. All right, on to our Sages, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. All right. And your tarot card today is the Tower. Ooh, scary, scary, the Tower. I want you to know, when I look at this Tower card, especially in this deck, I see a huge lightning strike that brings me peace. You see the peace dove? She's not being burned by the lava. Oh, yeah. DJ, I'm telling you that I really do. I think I'm more Taurus. When I think about it, I'm very much like a bull, especially emotionally, and I want to be acknowledged. I identify with my moon in the first house. Okay, Sagittarius, something is going to. Now, this is interesting because your ruling planet, Jupiter, also rules Pisces. And so whether you realize it or not, there's going to be a Piscean flare that sits underneath Jupiter's influence. Okay. So I think that this kind of looks to me like an idea or something, because Mars and Jupiter are in a trine this week. Mars being again in Pisces, Jupiter being in Cancer. You may have some sort of epiphany about what you want for the future. It may not be like the shocking, unexpected thing that happens to you, but is birthed through you. Let's see what Spirit has to say. And I always feel like there's like certain signs when you incarnate in a dynamic, like when you choose your sun sign, you know that the way that you feel about yourself, Venus, and the way you think, Mercury, are going to be in relation somewhere in that quadrant, okay? Because they always fly close to the sun. So when we think about, okay, I'm a Sagittarius, I chose to be a Sagittarius sun, you have the supergalactic center, you have the galactic center, you have the Shapley, you have the whole Shapley cluster somewhere around you, the great attractor. So somewhere you're coming into this lifetime to expand beyond where you've been. And it will come through your beliefs before it comes through your physical actions. So let's see where we're going. Let me just get up and turn my brew tea off. It's been on the low and I thought I had turned it off. I think I'm burning it. Hold on. Okay, I did it. All right, Sagittarius, let's go. Our first angel is Bridget, looking deeper into a situation. And, you know, that's a little bit of the challenge of being a Sag, because, you know, you're all about big, sweeping concepts, philosophies, theology. Idealism lives in the Jupiter energy. So you might have to look deeper. Is this situation really working for me? Athena is saying it's safe for you to lovingly assert yourself. Fiona is here. So now do you ask God and the angels for help? Be open to receiving. And then finally, Archangel Michael is asking you to have the courage to make these life changes. Interesting. So this does feel like an epiphany, an inner. And I want to offer this because as I said that, an inner, you know, like awareness, Lucky came to mind. And I don't know what it is about this week. I don't know how my stars have changed. It doesn't really look like it's that significant, but there's a reconciliation within me. There's a peace within me about being able to love Lulu freely without having to grieve Lucky. It's only been 5 months. In fact, yesterday was Lulu and our 5-month anniversary living together. And the rhythm that we have together is so beautiful that I don't want to spend any time in that grief because it doesn't truly honor Lucky. It just keeps me somewhere. So it might be something emotional, looking deeper into a situation. And it's your history. It's the story you're telling in the form of the Baird. The Baird also represents music and poetry and myth. So here, and the reason I bring that up is also maybe you've been living on a myth. Or somewhere you learned a belief, you learned an action that seems like, you know, it's practical or it's, you know, stable or this is how it's always been. And now all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, this isn't a good idea. Athena is saying it's safe for you to lovingly delegate something that you don't need to pay attention to out to others. I also want to offer this. It's also about accepting help. And this might be help from the divine. Because Fiona says, now that you ask God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. Now, this is the challenge. When we go to Spirit and we say we want something, it will start to remove the imbalance. You can't keep the imbalance and then move. I shouldn't say you can't. I should say that it would take a lot of cooperation and co-creation, especially if it's in a relationship, to shift the imbalance because the other party has to participate as well. Because here, Archangel Michael is asking Sagittarius to have the courage to move away from burden or people that are a burden or situations that are a burden or your own personal thoughts that are a burden. Now, people think Sagittarius is all like, you know, I've called them the Canadians of the Zodiac because every Canadian I've ever met has been just a nice, easygoing person. And I know they have, you know, people in Canada that are not nice people, but my experience has been that. So here, when I'm looking at this Sagittarius, I think maybe this is about looking at your history a little deeper. How did it actually serve you versus holding you under? Can I trust that connection to Spirit? Can I say, if I utilize all those points, the great attractor, I have a problem, and I go and I say, Spirit, I need you to help me with this problem. Give me an inspiration. Do I believe it? Do I really think it's going to happen? Because there is that owl is kind of funny because it's going back and forth. It's like, am I fooling myself? When I first started doing this work, I really thought I was full of BS. I'm like, I just must be able to read minds or something. Because I don't feel different. I don't get funky body. I mean, I get some chills, and I get like when a dead person comes in, I feel like someone's like rubbing my back, but I don't actually feel it. It's really more like a memory thought. And it took me a long time to trust that memory thought is actually Spirit's way of communicating. Because you're having a trouble moving. You're having trouble. And I think it's because something historically is pulling you under. And I think that the Tower is about an awakening. Poof. Oh my God. I thought I was trapped, and so I've been trapped. I thought I had to stay here or I had to do this, but I don't. Okay. And a little bit of the energy for might be that I don't have to do the work. And the work is believing, the work is showing up, the work is, I remember telling a client once that they have a weight issue. And I don't think they have a weight issue actually, but I think that the way they eat creates a weight issue. So I said to this person that as they became more invested in their happiness and they claimed their happiness and they moved towards their happiness, the weight would melt off. Now I experienced this person actually going on a regime and dropping weight. So their body absolutely can do that. But this person is very stubborn, and almost all of their sign, their personal, their moon, their sun, and their rising are all fixed. And so this person literally expected to be able to stay the same, be angry, be resentful, and this person also is not a Sagittarius, but they have a 9th house stellium. So they're very entitled to their way of being. And so they have this feeling that I don't have to do the work. It should just happen. You said the weight would melt off. And now I'm bigger than I ever was. And what they forgot was that I said the weight would melt off as you claimed your happiness. You would no longer need to claim the weight to be invisible. So it was very interesting to watch this. And because somewhere what I'm trying to say, Sagittarius, is that while you are very wonderful and loving and nice and popular people, if you're holding on to a belief that doesn't serve you, then it's your opportunity to recognize that belief and then to slowly kind of start to recalibrate it by using all the benefits you have in your connection to Spirit and all the expansive energy that's there. Because we are trained, I want to just keep emphasizing, you aren't trained to be happy. You're trained to be good. That's a different. I just heard Supertramp. Watch what you say. They'll be calling you a radical, a liberal, a fanatical criminal. Because if you individualize, that's what happens. All right, Capricorn, you ready? The 10 of Pentacles, but it's upside down. Now, the 10 of Pentacles is a card of abundance, absolutely, but it's a card of legacy. It's a card of history. It's a card of tradition. So let's see where we're going. Because somewhere, I think Capricorn is turning the old story upside down, and I'm not so sad about it because the old story is full of limitation, restriction, and duty. And Capricorn is really ready to break away from that. And that's also why I think your ruling planet in Aries is so powerful, and I think good. I think this is about being really thinking on a long-term basis. Am I creating a sense of myself that I want, I like? I don't know if I want everybody else to like it. That's the Aries energy. The Saturn is the leader now. It's going to be like, hey, if I do me, you do you, and we're good. So you don't have to be like me. That's a little bit of that's what we're all as a human race. I just hit myself in the face. Did you see that? We are redefining the sense of self so that we are not enslaved to these structures that we don't even know that we're enslaved to. Well, I think that the thing I love about this Sunday is that this is where we can come together and we don't have to feel so alone. Because my autonomy is really a product of not wanting to just be homogenized into something, and really choosing the ideals of what I believe my country was built upon: my freedom of thought, my freedom of speech, my freedom of movement. And so while some systems have been created to help that, I believe that they've become extremely out of balance, which is why my country is going through such huge. I mean, my country is going through Chiron in the fifth house. It's going through Neptune and Saturn in the fifth house right now. It's going through, tremendous Pluto, in Aquarius. And I feel like that's why I can surrender to the disruption. That's why I can surrender to the disagreement, because I see it happening as a cycle that is offering us a birth into something new. And without the contrast, without the divine disruption, without the pain of that zit coming to a head, we aren't compelled to move. Welcome, Bonnie. That's good to see you in the room. Okay, here we go for our Capricorns. And then we have our Aquarius and our Pisces, and we're done for the day. And I want to let you know, we're going to take Easter Sunday off, which is April 5th. We'll be back next week on the 30th, but then we'll be off after that. All right. Our first angel is Bridget, but she's upside down. That's interesting, because this is now saying no need to be cautious. And we have the 10 of Pentacles upside down. So somewhere this would be about turning your legacy, Capricorn, where you've been, what you've learned, your responsibilities, your duties, that more challenging dynamic of Capricorn, and assessing if it's still. No, I mean, I don't even think it's assessing. I think it's almost recognizing that Pluto's transit through your first house and now coming into your second house, maybe there's no more need for analysis. There's no more need for looking deeper. Now it's about practical application. Oh, hi, Lou. Do you want to say hi to everybody? Should we do the sneeze? Should we try the sneeze? Should I try it? Oh, she's not doing it now. I'm on a high chair. Are you coming? Oh, she's not doing it now. All right. Sorry, Capricorn. That was rude. Are you coming up here? Are you jumping up? You trying to decide? Oh, I'm going to shuffle the cards. All right. Then we have Akasha, spiritual teacher. This was a very choppy. I apologize for you watching in playback. This is my social hour on Sunday mornings, not a video. Okay, here we go. Ray is upside down. A lot of upside down angels and Crystal. Okay, it's about a little bit more faith and hope. Don't look deeper. Don't study. Remember to stay connected to spirit, and then allow for the process. I know. She'll do it. You know what else she does? She jumps on my lap when I'm sitting on the pot. Literally. Like, I have to remember to keep my legs together, because she will just out of nowhere. She's so funny. I don't know why she does these things. I don't know what compels her to do them. Bridget is upside down, being joined by the letting go card. Okay, Capricorn, really, this is a time when everything that you knew in the way of responsibility, in the way of like it's a time to reassess. And I mean this way. It's like you've already done Pluto's transit, did the shake up. It brought the deep psychology up. Now the Aquarius energy is like, look to the future. Don't look back. Don't look back. Look to the future. Because this letting go card feels like let it grow. Again, turn the head towards what will potentially bring happiness. Akasha, the spiritual teacher, is being joined by the burden card. There comes a point when too much study becomes a crutch. It becomes an insecurity. It becomes, have I done enough work? And if I stay in the study portion, if I stay in the constantly doing the work portion, then I can feel like I'm moving forward, but I'm never actually sitting in it. Because I literally think that right now this is about living the talk. I know I am a captured audience in the bathroom. It is pretty funny. I just don't know where she gets this stuff from. I mean, I don't know that, did she do this before? Or did she just start this now? I don't know. All right. Ray is upside down, being joined by the protection card. This is literally saying to Capricorn, if you just start living the life you want and you start adopting the baby goat and forget the old cranky goat, then you're going to start to feel protected by spirit as you align to that. Because Crystal's saying you have faith and hope. And then here is the ninth life, the cat. I literally don't think this is about healthy boundaries right now, although it could be. I think it's more about there's a 2.0 version. You know, astrologers will talk about the malefic planets and but they have their reward side. Pluto has its rising of the phoenix, and Saturn has the reward of the golden age and the tools. When do we implement that part? When do we co-create with the universe? Okay, I'm not going to look at this planet and always sit there like this. Oh my God, it's going to kill me. It's going to do this. I'm going to say, I've done the work. I don't need to look at the work anymore. I need to implement the work. I need to incorporate the work. I get to incorporate the work. This is the ninth life past the legacy. The legacy is over. They do, and we protect them when they poop, which is very funny. Because Lulu, though, she'll get me. She likes to do that dig thing. Lucky didn't do that either. There's a lot of things Lulu does, like a normal dog. And Lucky did things like he was a dog that came from royalty. I mean, honestly, he would get tired and he would just want to be carried, even when he was a puppy. And I pampered every little whim, because when I got to carry him, I got affection from him. Because again, he was not affectionate. Lulu has gotten into a habit of, after our evening walk, when she does her last tinkle for the night, that we come in and she sits on the couch and I rub her belly. Like, he was a snob. He was a bit of a snob. His Jupiter and Venus were in Taurus, and Taurus is my first house. So I just waited on him. I loved waiting on him. I would do it all over again. I do wonder a little bit if I helped him cross over, because Lulu doesn't eat half as much as Lucky did. Man, I fed Lucky treats all day long, but she doesn't want treats all day long. She wants to play. She wants to snuggle. And I only really got Lucky's affection when I had food in my hand. Wait. Oh, I have Aquarius and then Pisces. Okay. I'm like, I have two cards here. I thought I was on my last one. All right, here we go. This is Aquarius now. Oh, the Seven of Pentacles is interesting. This is a card where you're assessing what you're growing and you're about to make a decision. But upside down, something is still growing. Something still needs to be nurtured. Let's see where we're going. And I really want to offer this. I know it's not easy when you have a Pluto transit on the house of self, but this is where the deeper part of you comes in. And when we think about Aquarius, there is an intuitive nature to Aquarius. There's that genius. There's that being able to see things that don't exist yet. And there could potentially be an energy that's saying to you don't need to make a decision right now. And it might be because we are, even if you're an Aquarius, you're living in a human body with the human restrictions and limitations that come with that. So it may be about not making a decision, because that decision could be based on something more human, muggle-like, versus the magical visionary that Aquarius can be. But again, there's a claiming that has to take place for everybody has to claim their greatness. It doesn't, there's no magic wand, really. I mean, there may be a wand, but you're the one who's got to wave it. All right, Aquarius. Our first angel is the patience. Now is a time to learn and study, gather information, so you're not ready to harvest anything. Opal, saying you're a child of God. Victory is being offered. These are new cards in the form. Now that's in the connection to spirit. And then finally, Archangel Michael, again, asking us to have this courage. And this courage is not about courage to make changes other people will always approve of. This is the courage to make changes that you will approve of. Patience is being joined by the perception card. Opal is being joined by the wind fairy. Omega is being joined by the transformational swan. And finally, the spider is joining Archangel Michael. This feels work related to me. This almost feels like you're building something that is outside yourself. You know, when you think of Aquarius, we think of the 11th house, we think of large social groups, we think of social consciousness, we think of hopes and dreams. So here, the patience card and the perception card, you're still learning, you're still shifting something. That's probably Pluto's transit. Because the dark side of Aquarius is very unemotional. Feels very exiled. It feels very alone and cold. Space is cold. You know, it's not a warm place. And Aquarius rules space. Now, here's spirit here, perception card and patience. So now it's about really being aware of what your own perceptions are and the co-creation of those perceptions. Because Opal is saying you're a child of God, but your brain might not be telling you that. You may not be feeling like a child of God. Last year, I really had a problem when I kind of took the break, you know, off the channel, and I was very intermittent on the Sunday show. I didn't know, you know, I felt very disconnected from my soul. I felt very disconnected from, I started to wonder, is there really anything out there? Am I just making all this crap up? You know, is this just bullshit? And then I say to whatever's out there, prove it to me. And slowly but surely, I was able to remove my fog and see the wisdom of what was happening and the wisdom of the opening and closing of doors. Because here, there's a transformation happening that will bring victory to Aquarius. It brings something much greater to you. But will you have the change? Will you have the bravery and the courage, Archangel Michael, to come in relationship with what you want? When I look at that spider card for Aquarius, I literally saw the World Wide Web. I saw the idea that this is very Aquarian right now. I often think of it as a relationship card, but I don't think this is a relationship with another person. I think it's a relationship with yourself and your perception. And that and be patient also. There is an impatient energy inside of Aquarius. I know we have Saturn there, but I don't think Saturn presents as restricted there. I think Saturn's a little bit more golden agey in Aquarius. We don't often talk about Saturn, but again, here's Saturn with Neptune. So the co-ruler of your first house is asking you to recalibrate your sense of self through a deeper creative soul's knowing versus your muggle mind. So continue on, soldier on, meaning be patient with the process of, you know, this is again where suddenly I got shot over to the South Node in Virgo. We're all being tasked to be a little bit less perfectionist, a little less self-critical, a little less enslaved to whatever our daily dose is, you know, whether it's your mind, your heart, whatever your daily habits are. So here, be mindful that Aquarius, you're still growing something. And part of what you're growing is your individuality and your genius. And that isn't something that happens on a dime. It's something that is nurtured. One thing leads to another, leads to another. So continue to have the courage to stretch and to build yourself and your network and your hopes and your dreams. All right. Final sign, Pisces. CC Pups, did I mention Pisces? Not CC Pups. Queen Leo, did I mention that Pisces rules the feet? I think I did. And even though you can't, I think you should chair dance. Are you chair dancing at all? Are you chair dancing? You could get movement that way. And then you'll get a little bit of the musical fun. That Pisces also rules music. Okay, Pisces, the burden is lifting. The 10 of Wands is upside down. Chair yoga, that's another one. I think she can't put any pressure, I think, on one of her feet. Okay, let's see where the burden is lifting. Well, I can only imagine, Pisces, you know, the late degrees. You couple the idea of the anaretic degrees with a Neptune-Saturn conjunction, and it's the biggest transcendence. It's almost like, it almost feels like, you know, when something has been clogged and you finally can get that you get that air seal and it goes, pah! That's what it feels like to me. So let's see. All right, our first angel is Akasha, spiritual teacher, but it's upside down. The next is Isaiah, It's time to give birth to new ideas and situations. Yvonne is asking for vulnerability to that concept. And then we have Archangel Gabriel, which represents insecurity, but she's upside down. We have the birth and rebirth card joining Akasha upside down. We have the truth card joining Isaiah in the opportunity or the obstacle. We have the burden card joining Yvonne in the angel's advice. And then in the final position, we have the letting go, letting grow card. For my Pisces, there is something about allowing and recognizing that a burden is lifting. I'm no longer doing things the hard way, okay? And I think this has something to do with allowing what you have learned. You're naturally a healer. You're naturally intuitive. You're naturally creative. You're naturally compassionate. And yet, oftentimes, that light is shown on something else, not shown on the self. The birth and the rebirth card feels as if the burden is lifting on your own personal invisibility and your own hiding. And this is not about the applause of the audience now. This is about the truth of the soul. And this is what I think you're embarking upon, is this gestation period of being protected while you step into a deeper truth that sometimes you would let get sidestepped for somebody else's issue. Because Yvonne and the card of burden together is you've been going through a process of being vulnerable to the connections that you have through your compassion and empathy. And those connections may be dissolving in some way, or they may be wanting to stretch to a broader. I mean, the co-ruler of Pisces is Jupiter, and Jupiter's in exaltation right now and stationed at 15 degrees for quite some time. It's been stationed retrograde. Now it's stationing all week somewhere. The courage is being that trine to the Pisces energy. And with Mars there, I have to be brave in redefining who I am and how I show compassion, because sometimes love is interruptive. Sometimes it says, no, I'm not going to listen to that story, because if I listen to that sad song that you're singing, we're going to put the law of attraction in and you're going to live more of that. So I'm going to be compassionate by stepping out, because somewhere the insecurity is lifting and you're growing beyond a situation. And I think this week is about acknowledgement of that, about standing in that, honoring that, and knowing that that's a soul's upgrade, a soul's reward, just to have the awareness of it. So be mindful of that this week. I think that letting grow card is I'm letting my confidence grow, and my confidence that I'm value, I'm creative. I am as a Pisces, because humans are so connected to their earthly bodies and their earthly possessions, there is a huge gift inside the Pisces energy when we transcend that experience. And while naturally Pisces is, the 12th house, considered an ending, that ending is not really an ending. It's a continuation into a new sense of self. And Neptune is writing that story. Jupiter is writing that story, and so is Saturn and Pluto and Uranus, all the outer planets. And then the personals are serving that. They're like the waiters at the restaurant, and the outer planets are the chefs. They're cooking it, and the personal planets will be serving your dish to your table, and it's up to you to eat it or send it back if it's not right. Okay, that's it for this Sunday. Thank you all for being here. Let me get Lulu so she can say hello. Hold on. Come here, girlie. Come on, say hi to the crowd. Everybody loves you. Come here. You gotta get up. Oh, she rolls over onto her back. Come on, say hi to everybody. This is my girly girl. She wanted to do a little hello to everybody. Hi, sweetheart. Are you good? Are you having a good day? She's so funny. I wish you guys could see her on the street, and she's so sassy. But anyway, I love you all. Please say your prayers for small wildflowers, that she starts to feel like, her old self again. I don't know what's going on. I haven't really spoken to her, but I know she was feeling kind of punky this morning, which is why she couldn't join us. So, but we'll be back next week on the 29th. And then we're going to take the next week off for Easter. So if anybody wants to get a reading, I'm available and excited about doing more astrology. So love you all. Peace out. I'll see you soon. Have a great week. Okay.